I still remember the slot car track my dad built for me when I was little. It was so big, he put it on a 4x8 sheet of plywood and rigged it to a pulley system so we could pull it up and out of the way when we weren't racing. Slot cars are a peculiar thing. You have no control over your car other than to make it go. But there's something relaxing, almost hypnotic, about watching those cars go around the track. That same childlike sense of wonder is renewed when I get into the PSVR headset and load up Tiny Trax. It feels like you're actually sitting in a room playing with this amazing slot car set, only there's more going on than just making your car go. For this review, I want to focus on graphics and immersion, gameplay, and then at the end I'll have some final thoughts. I've said before that not every VR game needs to be in first person. The dollhouse view is just as cool as any first person game if it's done correctly. FuturLab gets it right here, and I'm glad to see that there's a few other studios beginning to release VR games in this third-person perspective. The graphical style and vibrant colors cause the scenery to really pop. Everything is meticulously detailed, and you feel like you're sitting at a model that someone spent years creating. The tracks are woven through some amazing landscapes, and while you're not experiencing the racing action from the driver's seat of the vehicle, you are placed in the middle of the action. You'll be turning all around and looking up, down, and through to keep up with what's happening on the track. Contributing to the immersion is the sound. This is the perfect showcase for why 3D sound is such an important component in getting virtual reality right. When properly developed, this third-person dollhouse view can be just as immersive as anything in first person because you're still in the world. I would love to see some VR sports titles. I think basketball would be the perfect candidate for a game like this. It would be like you're there sitting in the stands. I remember slot car racing fondly, but Tiny Trax takes it to a whole new level. The tracks twist, turn, and loop, taking your car upside down, along walls, and underwater, over, around, and through. You feel like you're tying a shoe. There are times you'll be standing or leaning, trying to get a better view of the action, and other times it'll be so in your face that you'll be backing up. The controls are very simple. R1 accelerates, the square button switches lanes, the cross button activates your boost, and the left analog stick turns left and right. Now you feel your boost meter by drifting around the turns at exactly the right angle. And every time you turn, you see a heads-up display appear. And to refill your boost meter, you must keep the needle at a certain point inside the colored part of the HUD. Now that sounds easy enough, but Tiny Trax is the perfect example of easy to pick up, difficult to master. True, since it's slot cars, you're not going to be in danger of going off course or heading in the wrong direction, but there's plenty of room for error. Anytime you try to turn too soon or stay in a drift for too long, you'll slow to a crawl, losing precious time. And if you don't want to fall behind, you better be using your boost constantly. Factor in occasionally driving on the ceiling, which can make you confused about which way to turn, and you can see how there's a lot to mastering this game. Much of the time, I didn't even think about changing lanes. There's too many other things that need your attention. But if you want that extra edge, you need to be able to get on the inside of every turn. And this adds to the complexity of what you need to do to be successful. My initial reaction to Tiny Trax was that it made me think of some games from the past. As is often the case with me and VR games, I was reminded of similar games, or I thought of games that I wish were remastered in VR. And though it's not quite the same as RC Pro-Am or Ivan Iron Man Stewart's Off-Road, only because you're in a slot car and you don't have the complete freedom of movement that you do in those other games. Tiny Trax is an amazing experience, and I recommend it to anyone who's even remotely interested. But I do think there is some potential for it to be even better. The cup races are set up so that each one has 4 tracks. But unlike other racing games, there's not really an easy mode. Now, I played through the game before updating it, so the difficulty was ramped up from the start. And FuturLab has since released a patch to rectify that problem, making the game a little easier to begin. I didn't have that period where I could breeze through races, getting my feet wet and learning the ins and outs before taking on stiffer competition, but that was okay for me. Once you finish the cup races, you've seen all the tracks. There are only 12. I wish I had the ability to create my own tracks or to download tracks that others have created. The Trials games do this perfectly, and I think it would be an awesome addition to Tiny Trax. Come to think of it, I need a VR Trials game. The ability to create or download more tracks would add infinite replayability to an already replayable game. Now, this is not a knock on the game. It's just so good that I want more of it. Have you played Tiny Trax? What did you think? Is there a game you would like to see me review? Comment below and let me know. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to bringing you more reviews very soon.